distinguished chair, lecturers, presenters, and participants. Welcome to the parallel sessions in the International Conference on Media and Communications, MENTION 2021. My name is Arik, and I'll be the MC for this session, for the second session. Today, I also will be assisted by Naili as a technical operator. And I would like to inform to our guests, participants, and presenters, this is a session for B3 record room. And now we would like to invite our chairperson, which is Dr. Adnan. Hello, Dr. Adnan, are you here?
Yeah, I am Arik.
Okay, so without further ado, for Dr. Adnan, you may begin. May start.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you, Arik. Assalamualaikum. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for 17th Biennial International Conference, Media and Communication MENTION 2021. As a guideline, presenter will have 10 to 15 minutes to do their presentation, and we will also have time for questions towards the end of the session. And I also request the presenter to turn their camera on. Kindly mute your mic when you are not speaking. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to presenters. Okay, so our first presenter is Dr. Alina Sendra Momayakin from University Malaysia Sabah, speaking on the development, roles and challenges of internet centers pre and during the COVID-19 pandemic era, a case study in the Northwest Coast Sabah. Dr. Alina Sendra is an associate professor and also Deputy Dean Research and Community Service at Center for the Promotion of Knowledge and Language Learning, University Malaysia Sabah. Her area of expertise is cultural communication and also intercultural communication. Dr. Halina, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Doctor. Please, Doctor.
Hi. No, I think I have shared my video presentations.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah. Technical team, please play the video, pre-record the video.
Thank you.
Sorry, dengar suara tak?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yes. Yeah. I cannot hear anything except for the MCs and Mr. Adnan.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. I'm Halina Sendera Muhammad Yakin. I will present a topic entitled The Development, Functions and Challenges of Internet Centers Before and During the COVID-19 Pandemic Era, a case study on the Northwest Coast Zone of Sabah. Okay, for the research objectives, the first one, to examine the establishments and development of Pusat Internet or Internet Center in Malaysia, specifically in Sabah. The second one is to identify the Internet Center's roles and challenges before and during the COVID-19 pandemic. For data gathering, we combine both quantitative and qualitative methods, specifically survey, participant observations, and in-depth interview. Okay, for fieldwork locations, this study has been conducted at Northwest Coast zones of Sabah, namely Kudat, Kota Marudu, and also Pitas. Okay, for the findings regarding the development of Internet Center in Malaysia. So briefly, as of 30th September 2019, 871 Internet centers have been established nationwide with the achievement of roughly 600,000 registered members and 400,000 non-members. And for the development of Internet Center in Sabah itself, there are 3 what we call as Pusat Internet Desa, which located at Kota Marudu, Kota Blut, and Penang. Apart from that, there are also 114 Internet centers under MCMC. So both Pusat Internet Desa and Pusat Internet actually have almost identical goals, which is to empower the digital world among rural communities. So this is the quantity and locations of Internet center in Malaysia, yeah, for each states in Malaysia. So there are, as I mentioned just now, there are a total of 871 Internet centers nationwide, yeah. In Sabah itself, this the total 871 is including 114 Internet centers in Sabah itself. Okay, for the quantity and locations of Internet center at Northwest Coast Zones of Sabah, okay, there is also one Pusat Internet Desa, ya, rural internet center, which located at Kota Marudu. Okay. Apart from that, there are also 3 internet centers at each districts, yeah, namely at Kudat, Kota Marudu, as well as Pitas, respectively. Okay, so for there are these are the functions of Pusat Internet or Pusat Internet Desa or rural internet centers, and also internet center or Pusat Internet, which is also known as Pusat Internet Satu Malaysia, Wireless Village or Wi-Fi Community. These are the informations regarding the administrations and operations of the Internet Center in Kudat, Kota Marudu, as well as Pitas. These are among the programs and activities conducted at Internet centers in Sabah. Yeah. So these are the challenges or obstacles faced by the internet centers in Sabah before and during the pandemic. So for discussions, in the case of Sabah, particularly in the Northwest Coast Zone, which serves as the backdrop or the locations for this study, there is an urgent or critical need arising from the internet problem that the government and other stakeholders must address. Among of the problems are specifically the provisions and upgrading of basic needs such as pipe water supply and electrical facilities. So these are among the recommendations for internet centers in Sabah to overcome the problems and the obstacles mentioned before. So for as conclusions, yeah, the formations and development of Pusat Internet or Internet Center in Malaysia will take place in stages following the Malaysian government's long-term plans. So before the COVID-19 pandemic's outbreak, Pusat Internets or Internet Centers in the Northwest Coast of Sabah had undertaken various activities to bridge the digital divide between urban and rural communities. Apart from that, Internet Center has successfully assisted organizations and communities that struggle with device ownerships and internet connections. However, Internet Center encountered multiple hurdles or obstacles before and throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, owing to various administrative, operational, physical, and infrastructural issues. MCO is regarded as one of the significant factors limiting the Internet Center's effectiveness and functions in offering free Internet access and gadgets to the community at the research locations. So it is hoped that the agencies involved can resolve issues and implement some recommendations to further strengthen the role of Pusat Internet or Internet Center in order to assist rural communities in establishing a digital community and culture, especially in the light of the pandemic, signifying that the Internet plays a critical role among communities from all walks of life. I'm sharing some of the pictures taken during the fieldwork. So this is the signboard of Internet Center. Looks like, yeah, in Sabah, especially at the locations, at the research locations. Sorry. This is the rural internet center of Pusat Internet Desa at Kota Marudu. These pictures taken at Internet Center at Kota Marudu as well. This one at Kudat and this one at Pitas. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Dr. Alina, for your video presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Adnan, Dr. Adnan.
Welcome, Doctor. For participants, if you have any questions, please post in the chat box, and we will also have time for questions towards the end of the session. So we go to the next presentation from Afifah binti Jamaluddin from International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM, speaking on impact of perception, attitude, and behavior on cyber resilience towards online fraud threats onto IUUM students. Please, Hafifah, Jalaluddin.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Adnan. I sent my pre-recorded presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Hafifah Jamaluddin from International Islamic University, Malaysia. For MENTION 2021, I'm going to present on the impact of perception, attitude, and behavior on cyber resilience towards online fraud threats among IIUM students. The co-authors are Prof. Saodah Wook, Dr. Tengku Siti Aisyah Tengku Azman, and also Dr. Narawi Sedu. Let's go for the introduction sections. Online fraud threats, the victims usually from or people with or without a higher education background, because the perpetrators usually using a techniques or special techniques to lure the victims. For example, the perpetrators make fake websites look real, similar to the web page used by the official websites of government or non-government agencies. Usually the perpetrators applied two techniques, where the first one is financial fraud. Financial fraud involve monetary online transactions, meaning that the perpetrators take money from the victims. In addition, for identity fraud, the perpetrators using the personal information of the victims to commit unlawful activity or against law in our country, for example. The target populations of this study are the students. Why? Because the students, did not active in seeking informations or gaining informations on online fraud that happens in the society. Okay, they have the poor attitudes to confirm or gain relevant information from the authorities when they receive threats from the perpetrators. That's why for this study, okay, we focus on the students. Our populations are the IIUM students. Okay, the objective of this study, okay, we focus to find out on these two objectives. The first one is to identify the level of perceptions, attitude, behavior, and cyber resilience towards online fraud among IIUM students. And second, to analyze the relationships between perception, attitude, behavior, and cyber resilience towards online fraud among IIUM students. So for this study, we want to test whether these variables, perceptions, attitude, and behavior, have positive relationship with cyber resilience. Let's go to the literature review. Okay. Here, okay, this study assume that perceptions, attitude, behavior have positive relationship with cyber resilience towards online fraud threats. Okay, why? Because okay, these students, okay, usually they are equipped or they apply advanced technology in their study and also in their learning. Okay, there are two concerns, okay, in this topic, subtopic. First, practice safe online computing and a digital footprint. Okay, students, okay, even though they are applying or using advanced technology in their laptop, in their handphones, however, unfortunately, okay, for the safety issue, okay, some parts of safety issue, they ignore some of the safety issue. Okay, for example, okay, they use the cloud computing applications to store their informations. When they use this one, meaning that they expose their informations or personal informations directly to the perpetrators. Okay, they open up the opportunity to perpetrators to gain their personal informations. Okay, second, a digital footprint. So whenever they leave their personal informations online, okay, there is a digital footprint. Okay, because they use the online platforms, okay, to store their informations. Okay, personal informations like banking informations, like their IDs or their passwords. So we assume that, okay, for this study, okay, for the hypothesis, there is positive relationship between perception, attitude, behavior, okay, on cyber resilience, okay, towards online fraud threats. So let's go to the theories. Okay, the theory used to support this study is social exchange theory, SET. Okay, SET, the first point is to maximize the reward gains. Okay, decision made by people based on positive and negative effects of a certain relationships or actions, meaning that the students when make decisions, they usually will choose a decision that give them more benefits, okay, or positive impacts. Okay, the rewards or positive impacts can be in two forms. The first one is material forms, for example, in terms of money, time, and service. But then the other reward is also in intangible forms, okay, for example, social approval, love, pride, respect, opportunity, or power. Okay, So these are the examples of the rewards. When the students make decisions, they try to gain the positive rewards or positive impacts. Okay, so the social exchange theory as SET, okay, assume that, okay, positive perceptions, attitudes, and behavior, okay, by having positive perceptions, attitude, and behavior, okay, students are more likely to gain additional knowledge and informations online while avoiding from becoming victims. Okay, because when the student gain informations or extra informations or knowledge on online fraud activities, they will be alerts and they will know how to how to safeguard themselves from the attacks. Okay, and also, okay, uh, they can adapt to this stressful event and have a fast recovery compared to those who have no knowledge of online fraud threats. Okay, this is the all about on the social exchange theory (SET). So this is the conceptual framework for this study: perceptions, attitudes, and behavior. This study come up with the three hypotheses, okay, which are the first one is, okay, there is a positive relationship between perceptions and cyber resilience. Second hypothesis, there is a positive relationship between attitudes and cyber resilience. And the third hypothesis is there is a positive relationship between behavior and cyber resilience. So there are three hypotheses tested for the study. Methodology, the research design for this study is quantitative research design. Okay, data collections using survey questionnaire. The data collected from 1st December 2019 until 14 December 2019. Sampling method used is simple random sampling, and sample size 269 students participates in the study. They are mainly from International Islamic University Malaysia IIUM Gombak campus. For reliability test, okay, for all the variable tested, the first one, perception, the Chromebook Alpha is 0.940 with 10 items. Attitude 0.869 with 10 items. Behavior 0.904 Chromebook Alpha with 10 items. And cyber resilience towards online fraud also have reliable Chromebook Alpha with 0.869 with 10 items. So overall, the tested variables are reliable because the Chromebook Alpha is above 0.7. For the results, to identify the first objective, to identify the level of perceptions, attitude, behavior, and cyber resilience to online fraud among IIUM students. From these results, okay, all variables are rated as positive and they are significant with perceptions, okay, attitude, behavior, and with cyber resilience towards online frauds. The significant results indicates that students use platforms with caution to avoid becoming victims. Since they are technology savvy, okay, they actively use technology for their study, for their daily purposes, okay. So they are applying the knowledge, the technological knowledge, okay, in terms of their privacy settings and also techniques to safeguard their data online. In addition, to test second hypothesis, to test the relationship. I'm sorry, it's not this result is not for one sample test, but to test the relationship for the second objective. So the first objective of the first hypothesis is perception is positively correlated with cyber resilience towards online fraud threats. The result is supported with a moderate significant correlations. The second hypothesis, attitude is positively correlated with cyber resilience towards online fraud threats, also supported with a moderate significant correlations. And number 3, behavior is positively correlated with cyber resilience to online fraud threats, supported with a moderate significant correlations. Okay, the results infer that students who are actively seeking for positive reward from cyber resilience knowledge will immediately know how to react, to adapt, and to prepare for online fraud threats imposed by the perpetrators, since they are the active users of the technology. This is so from the hypothesis. Okay, all hypotheses tested, 3 hypotheses are supported, since all the 3 hypotheses is moderately correlated with cyber resilience. We come up to the conclusions and recommendations. Okay, conclusions, all tested hypotheses in this study are supported with significant relationships. Therefore, it indicates that perceptions, attitude, and behavior are important contributors in developing cyber resilience towards online fraud threats. And for recommendation for future study, we suggested that to test on cyber security using resilience theory to determine the factors influencing cyber resilience towards online fraud threats. So for this study, SET theory hold true because the testing hypothesis is supported. So thank you for your attention and thank you for mention.
Okay, thank you, Afifa. For participant information, Afifa binti Jamaluddin is a PhD student at Department of Communication in International Islamic University Malaysia, IUUM. Her expertise on organization communication. Okay, next we move to our third presenter, our final presenter, Nuzatul Shima Sulaiman from University Putra Malaysia, speaking on the effect of internal communication and engagement on organizational performance in the age of pandemics. Nuzatul Shima Sulaiman is a PhD student in Human Communication Corporate at University Putra Malaysia. Expertise area on the interpersonal communication. Please, Nuzatul Shima.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And also selamat sejahtera to guests and speakers. Today, my topic that I want to present is the effects of internal communication and engagement on organizational performance in the age of pandemic. I thought my slides has been shared by the technical team. Is that shown on the screen? Yes. Okay. So let me without any ado, let me continue my what we have found in my conceptual paper. For this paper, we have found 4 keywords. Can you move to the first page? Okay, thank you. There are 4 keywords. There are internal communication, employee engagement, organizational performance, and COVID-19. So as we know, we already know that internal communication means that communications which happens in an organization. And for employee engagement, it means that an individual employee's cognitive, emotional, and behavioral state directed toward desired organizational outcomes. And for organizational performance, it is one of effectiveness indicators which comprises of the valued productive output of a system in the form of goods or services. It can be discussed here from two perspectives, financial performance and also non-financial performance. And for the COVID-19, as we all know also, it can be described as an extreme disrupted context happens in environments that are triggered by extreme events that occur outside the core activities of organizations or communities. And it results in unbearable physical, psychological, and material consequences to organizational members. So we move to the next page, introduction. For the problem statement, we have already made a finding through literature review that recent studies on business success, organizational stability, and employee productivity have increasingly acknowledged internal communication and employee engagement as crucial components affecting organizational performance. But limited empirical studies investigate their relationship as interdependent constructs. So despite a growing number of the studies showing the linkages, the relationships need further explanation. Why? Because a handful of previous studies assess employee communication and engagement on a non-financial performance basis, whereas financial and non-financial measures complement each other to determine the comprehensive results of organizational performance. So they complement each other actually for the performance, non-financial, and also financial indicators. And the second reason is integrated IC and EE, which is employee engagement, should be manifested as multidisciplinary and a multi-level phenomenon in order for organizations to communicate effectively and gain better performance. Okay, so we move to this next page, please. I would like to describe more on the current scenario which we are having now, the COVID-19. Next page, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, the COVID-19 scenario. As we know, COVID-19 has brought significant consequences for both business and employees' performance globally, which Malaysia is no exception. So the pandemic impact on organizations' productivity, particularly through domestic lockdowns, would cause the drop of employee engagement. This has been found in our research. And worryingly, this might affect the organization's organizational performance as well. So according to the World Bank Group, together with a Malaysian private survey company, which is I tabulated here, they conducted the second round of survey from January 15 to February 10, 2021, which is quite early in this year. And it is followed. It is following the first round of the first MCO in 2020, and the survey found that here, despite the firms, the MCO in March 2020, which is at the beginning of our MCO last year, they found 35% firms were not in operation. Okay, and then but early also in this year, not really far, March and also January. That means a year after the first MCO, 16% firms were not in operation. So even though there is not much gap between the first MCO and also the second MCO, this trend has actually since been reversed, which they not actually shown much improvement. So thus, instead of shutting down operations and for the sustainability in businesses, most firms are making some common employment adjustments, such as reducing hours for workers and reducing wages, as what we can see here. The next page, please. The next page, please. Okay, here. So the survey also found that firms continue to adjust employment downwards. So there are two criteria here. They reduce hours for workers and they reduce wages, which as a consequence, the reducing working hours and wages has affected more than 150,000 persons in Malaysia lost their jobs in the pandemic, as reported by Malaysian media so far. Okay, so and more importantly, the remaining employees must be capable and devoted to the organization and ready to take on the challenges faced by the organization. So how organizations do with this? So and also the researchers, okay? So according to the researchers during the MCOs and lockdowns, recent studies recommend organizations to take the first move by ensuring their employees' well-being and engaging them effectively at home. So to ensure employees are staying healthy and also engaged, employers must also demonstrate a new level of understanding. The most efficient way to do this is to establish consistent communication and sharing of information. So the objectives of our paper here, next page. Considering the predictive relationship between IC and also EE engagement, this paper aims to identify the key main drivers of the two constructs that lead to organizational performance in the current context, which is COVID-19 pandemic, with the following specific objectives: to examine the impact of internal communication on organizational performance during the pandemic, to examine the impact of internal communication on engagement during the COVID-19 pandemic, to study the relationship between employee engagement and organizational performance during the pandemic, and to examine the mediating role of employee engagement in the relationship between internal communication and organizational performance during the pandemic. Next, please. We go to the literature review. I would like to describe three kind of relationships between the constructs. First, relationship of internal communication and organizational performance. So what we can see here, the table or the picture here describes IB. The diagram here describes IB and also DB. IB, internal communication, which consists of trust, transparency, consistency, and for the performance, divided to financial and non-financial. The two constructs have been consistently researched by the previous studies, and they showed there are positive relationship between internal communication and organizational performance. Sources, this is before the pandemic, okay? So Grony, also Meng and Berger, Morris, Mern, they found this kind of findings before the pandemic. And towards the pandemic or during the pandemic, there are a few researchers are already found that internal communication and performance, they are related to each other. So these are the new researchers, okay? They are consist of Romanian researchers and also Serbian. And during the pandemic, the studies highlight the importance, they highlight the importance of IC in the dimensions of teleworking. This is new. Teleworking is what we can, I'm not so sure whether it is new to all of you. Teleworking is the action or practice of working from home. What we can short form it as WFH, working from home, where the employers and also the employees communicate and making use of the internet, email, and the telephone. So they are working remote. Okay, the studies have proven that the teleworking between employee and employees influence task performance and contextual performance during the COVID-19 pandemic so far. Okay, for example, when communicating through teleworking, leaders encourage employee behavior through trust, TRUST. When employees sense that they are being trusted, they likely have a greater concern for their work and consequently, the trust between each member encourage a positive relationship and brings about the good performance of organizations. Yeah, okay. So this is quite a normal findings as what have done before. So we coming to the second relationship, relationship of employee engagement and organizational performance. Next, please. Next page, please. Okay. As what we can see here, the IB employee engagement and the DBA performance have also been proven they are related to each other since before the pandemic. A growing body of literature has found positive their positive relationship and the positive outcomes such as employee retention, productivity, and profitability. And there's the researchers, the sources here on top of the top sources here, Sachs, Marcy, and Snyder here. They are researchers from before the pandemic, and compared to the sources, the recent sources here, they found they found employee engagement consistently affect the performance of organizations. Okay. Despite the hit of the pandemic on global economies, recent studies show employee engagement consistently brings significant and positive impacts on performance. So this is found by Ahmad, Tang Tong, Siba, and Lopez. They are coming from Thailand and also Europe countries. And even though they have been quarantines, lockdowns, and closing of physical shops and businesses, they are still perform for their organizations. Okay, why? Because the research shown that through teleworking or work from home, the engagement still develop, and the drivers like hiring the right employee with the right skills for the relevant job, providing support to the remaining employees through a strong system and strategies lead to the formation of an engaging work environment. So this engaging environment change the employees' attitude and behavior, and they feel secure and in a positive direction, and consequently they become more loyal and lead to perform for their organizations. Okay, the next relationship, the next page, please. For the relationship between internet communication and employee engagement before the pandemic, numerous studies have emerged. There have been a lot. I believe you all know already, as Wiley, Welch, Caranges, and Kang and Sang have been researched. They are related to each other, and during the pandemic is also there is a number of studies have already existed to strengthen our understanding of the role of internet communication during the pandemic, especially in handling crises. So this is the communication strategy in handling crisis in many organizations. Okay, so this is found by Austrian researchers here. I don't know how to pronounce their names. So they are quite new. This is they have found this kind of data and also findings early this year, and coming the latest is September 2021 this year. So most of the studies are based on social exchange social exchange theory. So what is social exchange theory? I think it has been described before by the previous presenter, Afifah. So the theory shed light on the effects of informational and relational resources, information actually provided by the organization through communication on employees' responses and consequently on their job engagement. Okay. For example, so what we can see, the next page, please. Oh, okay, never mind. For example, what we have been found by the previous by recent studies, the frequency of communication at the beginning and during the pandemic, even though they are not specified on internal communication, but the communication happens in organizations, and they are found as antecedents for the employee organization relationship, EOR. And also there's recent study on pandemic also found that in terms of handling a crisis, informational and relational communication have significant influence on how employees support their employer during the crisis. So indirectly it moves towards the engagement among the employees. So the methodology that I use here, since it is a conceptual paper founded on secondary data, I provide a critical review presented by comparing and contrasting the previous works of various authors and groups related to the research topic. So the review identifies possible gaps and adapted theories and summarize them in a tabular diagram attached as what I attached in the full paper. And in the final analysis, the paper utilizes internal communication and social action theories and provides an integrated conceptual framework in justifying its study on the relationship of employee communication, engagement, and organizational performance. So the next page, please. The findings, based on the secondary results, it showed that inadequate empirical investigation into the relationship of internal communication, employee engagement, and organizational performance as interdependent constructs. That means there is still lack of studies on the interdependent constructs. So more importantly, the results have consistently shown the values of excellent internal communication and engagement have been measured by non-financial performance. So what I've been I explained to you the tangible, the intangible indicators such as quality employee organization relationship, productivity, retention, low absenteeism, and also organization financial performance like success in return of investment, ROI, sales, and return on asset, ROA. There are still remains scarce in the literature. So not much study has been done on the financial performance. So given that the significance of effective internal communication is measured by financial and non-financial indicators, the paper proposes an integrative conceptual model, like I have drawn here, as an improved direction for future research and as a reference for keeping track of organizational business progress. Okay, so hypotheses also have been written here, stated the H1, there is a positive relationship between internal communication and organizational performance here. And there is positive relationship between employee engagement and organizational performance for H2 here. And H3, there is positive relationship between internal communication and employee engagement, H3. And H4, the employee engagement mediates in relationship between internal communication and organizational performance. Next page, please. The significance, what is significance of one paper? So as internal communication has long been identified as the main driver of engagement, which contribute to organization productivity and positive financial returns, this paper proposes a model which conceptualizes the integration of both concepts that may lead to better organizational performance and provide a platform for future communication research. And my paper also recognized that scholars have begun to consider measuring communication and employee engagement in terms of financial performance can be an important way of keeping track the progress of organizational business. And more importantly, the concept of improving performance and remaining active in the current pandemic environment has been important because businesses need to be flexible that will help them respond to the evolving times. Okay, the theoretical significance, this paper offers logical reasoning, which empirical determinants and hypotheses are identified and can be tested to verify the conceptual model. It is built on the Greenwich theory and and also the theory of social exchange. The paper predicts that internal communication influences employee engagement and gradually affect organizations' financial and also non-financial performance. And pragmatically, the new conceptual model can be helpful to the leaders of organizations in framing strategies to develop a competent and committed workforce that is well engaged with the organization and provides a competitive advantage. So organizations may consider using this model for managing communications and engagement factors to gain higher level of performance, which means neglecting one of the factors would mean an organization may miss its total effectiveness and competitiveness. So as a conclusion, it is expected that the proposed model would contribute to addressing the absence of structured literature on the organizational outcomes of the integrated internal communication and employee engagement that will intrigue further reactions and discussions from scholars and practitioners. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shiva. Long presentation, but a lot of information. Okay, thank you to all our presenters for their excellent presentations. Now I will open Q&A session, and participants can ask questions directly to the presenters. Please introduce yourself by name and institutions. Yeah, any questions, please? Yeah, Ari.
Actually, I have two questions. One for Dr. Alina, and the second for Miss Hafifah. Okay. For the first question, what do you think, Doctor, if for the internet infrastructure in Sabah, as you mentioned on your research, is it concluded in what the quality of the internet? Because in your research you have mentioned that during COVID the internet need is improved, especially for peoples in Sabah. So there is need more infrastructure. So what do you think? Is it there is any relation between the quality of the internet and the quality of the people who get infected for the pandemic COVID-19? Because you know, is there any you know, when you are faced with the COVID-19, where you are affected with the COVID-19, you are more dependent to internet. So is there any relation if the people if the quality of the internet that people use is can be this, I don't know, maybe the standards for the solution for the COVID-19?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Awe. Thanks for the questions. Okay, I think the questions is regarding the problem, the internet problem among people in Sabah, right? So I have conducted the study actually in only on the Northwest Coast zone only, yeah, specifically the three districts, yeah, Kudat, Pitas, and as well as Kota Marudu. So for the people at the Northwest Coast of Sabah, especially, yeah, the internet problem is one of the critical problem actually during the before, pre, and during the pandemic era. Yeah, and you mentioned just now, you asked me regarding the infrastructure, right? So yes, of course, the infrastructure it's not really what I mean to the standard, yeah. But in certain area in Sabah, but in like the in certain only in certain area, but at the I mean, because I'm not studying all areas in Sabah, but specifically at the research locations, yeah, there is a critical problem regarding internet at the area. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Arik. I hope I'm answered your questions. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, my cat. Sorry.
So my second question to Ms. Hafifah, do you mention about in your research? Do you mention about perception, behavior related to the fraud in media? Is it in internet, right? So what I want to ask to you is, what kind of behavior and perception that can be classified to be categories people who easily get fraud from the internet? What kind of behavior? Might be it's ignorant or something.
Okay, thank you for the questions. Okay, good questions. Okay, for my study, for our study, okay, we study on perceptions, attitude, and also behavior, and how these three variables, okay, give impact to the cyber resilience among IIUM students. So, Brother Arif's questions on what are the kinds or what are the types of people who falling victims of online fraud, right? So usually, okay, the students or younger generations, okay, they actively use online platforms, okay, like us, okay, now COVID, yeah, we use online platform to communicate, to engage with people, yeah, to do our professionals works and also personal works, okay. So the more you attach to the online platforms, the higher risk that you may get from the perpetrators. Okay, why? Because the younger generations, especially students in IIUMs, okay, they do neglect on the security parts. Okay, they don't know if they use iCloud, for example, to store their informations online, for example, or to store any personal informations. Okay, actually it's open the informations to the third party. Okay, especially for perpetrators. Okay, they can track the footprints, okay, when we use this kind of online platforms to store the important elements. So the students, okay, usually, okay, they don't have the attitudes or they don't have the behavior to seeking or gaining more informations, okay, on cyber resilience to safeguard their data, for example, to safeguard their informations online. That's why, okay, they easily fall victims, okay, or falling victims, okay, by the perpetrators' tricks, okay, because they don't regard these cyber resilience as important when they digging informations. Even we digging some informations in website, for example, okay, actually we leave a footprint. Okay, that's why when we open our browser, okay, they give you suggestions. Okay, you can see several suggestions that similar topic when you are browsing, meaning we leave a footprint. Okay, but the younger generations or especially students, they neglect all these elements. They don't have the behavior to seeking more information on security. That's why in my study, I suggest that for future study, we suggest that for future study, okay, for future study, focus on the cyber resilience and also cyber security, because these two is close related. Yeah. So I hope I answering your questions, Brother Ari.
I think your answer is interesting about you mentioned about the young people, right? About their
Yes.
resilience. But what about the old people? Right now, even the old people, they don't have a capability to use technology better than younger generation. So they might be get easily affected or get fraud easily because they are lack of access to this kind of technology. What do you think?
Okay, since we do not cover for the older generation, so I will give my opinions. Yeah. Okay, we see the patterns, perceptions, attitude and behavior on cyber resilience among the younger generations. Okay, even the younger generation also neglect some of the important elements to safeguard their informations online. Okay, is for older generations. Okay, this kind of things like difficult task for them. Okay, even we are the active users, we neglect that element. Okay, so how we hope our mother or our father, okay, our grandmother, for example, to give attention to this kind of things, okay, because they are newly to the online platforms. They forced to use online platforms. For example, online banking. Okay, previously they just go to the store, okay, to buy anything that they want. But now their children give them smartphones, okay, to order food. For example, Food Panda, something, okay. And now even to use to place order through Food Panda also difficult for them. Okay, or ask the runner or WhatsApp the runner to buy grocery things for them also difficult. So we cannot expect the older generations, okay, apply the cyber security or to safeguard their data online. But okay, as we know, our governments, okay, like MC, okay, and our government, our prime minister, okay, always remind us, okay, to use proper platforms, okay, to safeguard our data when we use online platform, because there are lots of cases, yeah, during this pandemic, yeah, especially online fraud. Okay, because they target the older generations and as well as younger generations. Okay, there are lots of cases and the cases is increased during this pandemic because we are attached to the online platforms. But I can praise the efforts by the government, okay, because the government do give attention to this issue. Okay, that's why we come up with the study, okay, the impacts of perceptions, attitude, behavior on cyber resilience, but we focus on the younger generations. Okay, thank you. I hope I'm answering your questions. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ada soalan lain?
Dr. Adnan.
Ya, Prof.
Okay.
Hi, Prof.
Okay, sorry. Okay, sure. Okay, can I ask question to Sima for alright? Sima, is it? Is there Sima?
Yes,
one from
Prof.
you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, long time no see you.
Okay. Okay, Sima.
Yeah, Prof.
You already have the literature review. Okay, which organizations you plan to study? I'm sure this is for your PhD thesis, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
right?
it's for me.
Okay. So
It's actually for my journal article.
Journal article.
Yeah.
Okay. So which type of companies do you plan to study? Because you are studying on internal relationship as well as the
Communication.
the physical, emotional, whatsoever. What type of companies you plan to study, okay, or you have studied in order to see the relationship between the trust and the three items that you plan to see? as the detailed variable?
Yeah. For information, Prof, my thesis study, the target of my research study for the journalists in media organizations. So I have different kind of title. This is a bit difference, but this one is more to corporate style. This topic is more to corporate style. So I plan to do the research on internal comm and engagement effect on the performance for India organizations, which specifically I think would be suitable on the GLC companies or private companies, private sectors, because like Petronas, Malaysia Airports Berhad, and also DRB, they have a kind of critical what we call critical communication situation which has not been examined. So I thought there will be the suitable group that I look for. Is that answering your question, Prof? Is it okay?
I don't know actually, because you plan to do it.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about journalists, they don't have journalists.
Yeah.
Did you talk about journalists just now?
Yeah, journalist is for my thesis study. I have different kind of title, just like different internal comm and also engagement but related to identification and also job autonomy. So it's just a bit different. So knowing that media in our country, they are not so what we call rich, so they're not rich bodies. So except for Media Prima and also Astro, but again they are in terms of their news production, they are not rich actually in terms of financial performance. So maybe what I can target or specify more on medium to big GLC companies or private sectors. Do you want to have any? Do you want to share any better ideas with me? I was welcome, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Shima. Any other question from other participants? Ada soalan lain daripada peserta lain? Peserta ada ke? Nak tambah ke apa-apa? Okay, if you don't have any questions, I think on behalf of the committee mentioned 2021, I apologize if there are any mistake. And thank you everyone for joining us today, and we will see you the next time. Okay, and I give back the floor to the MC. Thank you.
I also thank you to the organizer and also to Dr. Adnan. I know you. And also the rest of doctors.
And the rest of the presenters.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ari, thank you so much for your cooperation. Nice to see you all.
Okay, thank you for Dr. Anand is leading the sessions very well. And for today, we have end our session. But before we leave, before we finish, I might want to, for the participant, for the presenter, to open your camera because we have the photo sessions that will lead by our operator.
Okay, I will start with 1, 2, 3. Another one, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for our operator. So yes, so we have end our discussions. For all the participants and all the presenters may leave the breakout room. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Dr. Adlan. Okay, I see you.
Thank you, Prof.
All right, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Anna. Thank you, Brother Arik.